Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to today's Wellness Connection, where we will be discussing media consumption. What are we digesting? We'll leave today with a detox diet prescription for moderating our information intake and calories. I'm Molly Schneider, and along with Cindy Edgerly, we are the co founders and directors of Well Together, a coaching and wellness practice. So let's get started. Worth consideration today is our information intake. With our constant exposure to news, technology, information, what are we feeding ourselves? I can't help to wonder about current consumption and how it makes us feel. We undeniably need information, but from newspaper to TV to social media to endless scrolling on our phones, what are we putting into our systems? It's overload. How can we process all of these channels of information without literally throwing up, exploding, or making ourselves insane? It's too much. I can't help but parallel the binge of information to carving ourselves into a food coma. BBC's Sina Corvett writes, when you factor in podcasts, streaming services, radio, social media, and websites, which often want to send us notifications throughout the day, as well as links shared by friends, it becomes clear that we are constantly simmering in a soup of news from the morning when we wake up until the moment we close our eyes each night. This news soup is churning in our stomachs 24/7. No wonder we're reaching for the Tums. We need portion control. So today, let's take a bite into how we can manage our consumption. Before we get into our solid diet prescriptions, let's take a look at some background. Research shows us that this is nothing new. Even in 2013, a Guardian news article said, news is bad for you, and giving up reading it will make you happier. In his article, the author Rolf Dobelli continues that news leads to fear and aggression, hinders your creativity and ability to think deeply. The solution? Stop consuming it altogether. Well, we don't know if this is actually realistic, but the gist of it is news makes us upset. Social Dilemma currently warns of the further perils of social media. So we know we need moderation. I did see recently a great cartoon that I want to share again from Liam Walsh in the New Yorker. I don't know if you can see this, but I love this. And it bears mentioning that this is from 2013. So this is not new. Having the cone on our head to try to keep ourselves from our phones is something we were doing then, and we probably should be doing something similar now. Some crazy statistics to share. We check our phones up to 63 times a day conservatively. Pre-pandemic, the average American spends about 10 hours, 39 minutes of on-screen time every day. CNN says this is between smartphones, tablets, video games, personal computers, multimedia devices, TV, etc. Our phone screen time averages 5.4 hours a day, with millennials averaging over 12 hours on their phones daily. Social media accounts for 2 hours and 24 minutes of our time a day. We spend 48 minutes on average texting a day. Podcast listeners even listen about 7 hours a week. Reading news updates in the morning, lunch, and dinner, as well as periodically throughout the day, can waste almost half a day. So I started adding up these hours. How does this make any sense? What else are we even doing besides intaking information all day long? This can't be making us smarter. It's just making us fat or brain fat. If that's even a word, maybe we should submit it to Merriam-Webster. And further, I want to share that I read an article from Ian Leslie in the article in February where he says technology is at least partially responsible for a world in which toxic disagreement is ubiquitous, in which offense seems to be constantly given and taken, in which we do ever more talking and ever less listening. People are disputatious. And I also read, interestingly, and intuitively we know this, but bears reminding that agreeing motivates people less than disagreeing. So when we are scrolling on our different news feeds, if there's something we disagree with, it captures our attention much more, which just leads us to feel even more angry. And while we think that the internet is reputed to create echo chambers, in which people only encounter views that they already agree with, evidence actually points in the opposite direction. We're bound to encounter opinions that upset us more on Twitter and some of the newer news feeds than if we were just reading our daily newspaper and just getting that critical information. This tends to generate more hostility and feelings that we just don't want. So great. Now we know with social media, we're feasting on negativity, which just can't be healthy. So, as you can tell, the news and food comparison started to really resonate with me. I think we can all agree that this current overload is toxic and definitely not digestible. So, how do we get the peak amount of brain food and not feast our way to mental obesity? In the fall, I just want to point out that I joked with my friends and Cindy, my business partner, that with my amount of CNN, it was a miracle that I didn't reach 270 pounds before the Electoral College reached 270 also. So that is when I really decided I wanted to try to figure out how to cut my own consumption. And so I tried to make up an information diet and one that will work. So I'm going to share with you some things that I came up with for my information diet. Let's see if I can bring it up here for us. Here we go. So, what do we actually need in our feed? Starting, I thought of personal non negotiables that I need, like coffee and fruit, vegetables, popcorn. That's just me. But how does that translate in what we need in our feed of what we're getting, what we're intaking information wise? So we know we need hard news, analysis, weather, check ins with friends and family. Those in bold, non negotiables. Then for supplement, what can enrich us are opinions, features, sports, or other updates depending on your interest. We need educational content, or we like educational content. Social media is where we start getting some of our higher calories and, you know, some of our major time consumption. So from Twitter to TikTok, it does slide in. Let's just not let it overtake the things that are more important. So I've broken down what this might look like for us on a typical day and the times that we tend to information overload at our meals and what we can do about that. So first, let's start with breakfast. Good morning. Let's break the fast. Hopefully we had some good brain break overnight. Let's sit down with our coffee and just only get our CDI, our critical daily information. This is just our basic news from our reputable sources. Let's keep a light breakfast, leave out the butter and cream from getting aggravated by non-credible news sources, leave out that acid, stick with your critical daily information. Maybe a 2-minute social media check if you must, but let's start our morning with no more than 15 minutes of information as a goal. Hopefully we can really get our CDI with that. At lunchtime, let's lighten our lunch. While we may be tempted, this is a good time for pressing updates only. Let's give ourselves time to have features and fiction be our salad and sandwich instead of endless scrolling on things we don't need. We don't need, as I say, like our extra bread or our French fries. Let's have conversation and nourish our soul at this time. Keep lunch light. Let's have a goal here of also only about 15 minutes. That should give us enough time for those pressing updates only. Next is our evening. Well, we know that we want to reserve our dinner time and our evening hours for the talking, thinking, laughing that really nourishes us. So let the think, talk, and laugh be the soup, salad, and entree. With an open mind and food for thought, we can really exchange our ideas better. So let's fill our senses with that. Let's stay balanced in our news intake there. Choose the bites that we want, push what isn't appetizing to the side, and savor the time that we have. If we can, my caution here is to please put your phones away at this time and don't sacrifice your sunset because instead you're listening to too much news or scrolling on your phone. So we can again have a goal here of about 5 to 15 minutes in the evening. And next, our snacks. We do love our snacks, but it is a dieter's struggle. We want just enough and not too much. So learning new information is how we grow, but we hope that our snacks will grow us in an enriching way and not just in our waistline. So we don't need a whole cake. We don't need a whole bag of chips. Choose wisely with your snacks, contain the scrolling, know when it's enough, and clip those chips. If we do too much, FOMO and anxiety will kick in. So really, let's caution ourselves and clip the chips when we can. Make a phone call instead. Pick your snacks wisely. Now, I did put TV under snacks as well. Let's let TV be healthy, distracting, moderation, just not excessively. I didn't give us a time limit here, but our goal with snacks overall is always going to be moderation. So hopefully we can accomplish that. And last but not least is late night food. So with our late night, we know this is just not when we should eat. So don't do it. Don't before bed fill your brain with all kinds of information that's going to keep you up at night. Turn off all of your channels of information and get some sleep. Listen to your inner voice saying, don't go for that late night snack that you know will make you feel like in the morning. We all really need to recharge. So it's necessary even for our phones, our iPads, our computers, all of our devices, but most especially for our brain. So let's not fill our head with all that clutter right before we go to bed and really let ourselves recharge the way that we let our devices. If we don't binge on information at night, we're not going to wake up in the middle of the night still thinking about it, and we won't have that hangover in the morning. Might even want to consider an intermittent fast. So we just put all of those things away at a certain time and don't even touch them again. So in essence, if you have to say goodnight to your phone within like a 0 to 5 minute time period, and if not your phone, your iPad, whatever you're using, say goodnight to it, tuck it away, and just let's at late night keep our goal to 0 to 5 minutes at the most. So I've uploaded here a PDF form of our cheat sheet of the information diet. I've made this available as a PDF. So if you do need this as a reminder, please go to our website and download it, just in case you need a refresh on critical daily information and pressing updates only, and don't do it at night. Um, you're welcome to my cheat sheet. But overall, wrapping it up, I think when I made my own kind of idea about a nutrition guide, it mostly revolves around portion control and healthy habits. I'm committing against the temptation to scroll, watch, and consume more than I need. I always feel better when I have and respect my limits. I'm going to commit to sip instead of gulp, chew instead of binge, and push aside the garbage that we've read about for ages makes us feel negative and bad. I don't want that garbage. I'm going to avoid the empty calories of negativity that I don't agree with, that is somehow being shown to me on my feed. I'm just going to avoid those empty calories. I don't need it. I'm going to suppress the snacks, the excess notifications, TV, news, social media, text, and email. What I don't need, I'm going to suppress it and keep it to a minimum. Also, I think it's important that we pause before we pick up the phone, the computer, or the remote. In this analogy, think, are you hungry for this news or for more information before you even engage? Think about it. In essence, we need a balanced diet, at least I do, of critical daily information, just my base coffee, not too much more, and my daily interactions with my friends and family. I think it's wise to think of it as I say down here, please let the community in my heart be more consistently important than the community on my devices. Connection that's authentic and real, even if sometimes we have discourse and it's unpalatable, it's still in the end much easier to digest. So I hope that you can find this diet relatable. I do think, as with any diet, support from others is helpful. So just as a reminder, we always appreciate your weigh in. We're here for you. If you want to let us know what your binge or problem area is, we'd love to hear it. Think about your brain food. What can you do more of? What can you do less of? Feel free to share that with us and we can pass on your wise words to others. How can we balance our diet? And a key one here is dessert. I left out dessert. I'd love to hear some of your healthy, guilty pleasures that we can use for dessert. But let's make realistic, digestible goals. Keep ourselves sane, informed, but happy and moderating appropriately. And as you know, we're here to be your accountability partners. So please stay connected with us. If you don't already, please do follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, hopefully not for very long every day. But you can also reach us by email, phone, and you can watch our programs. We've been recording, and so now you can also see us on YouTube if you can't make our live events. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to all being well together.